Emoer. Yan Beiqing patted Mo Shanghua's cheek carefully, but she didn't respond. As soon as she swept her eyes, she put her bloody feet into her eyes. The fierce killing intention in her eyes suddenly poured out of her eyes, which could not be controlled at all. Yen Moli. His eyes directly fell on Yen Moli, who was slowly getting up. It seemed that the fierce killing intention in his eyes had sent him to hell. Only one look from a distance would make people feel cold all over. Qin Lin, who came with Mo Jiang, was also annoyed to see this scene. He went directly across Mo Jiang and gave an order, immediately arrest all these people. Mo Jiang silently looked at Yan Beiqing, who was about to crack his canthus, and Qin Lin, who was red-eyed by his side. He just said, "Keep alive." At the moment, the 2,000 imperial guards were all following behind. It was natural for them to capture the dozen people in front of them alive. They responded with a powerful voice and quickly stepped forward. But in an instant, they surrounded Yen Moli and others. They were stacked in layers like iron barrels. No need. Yanbei City suddenly raised his eyes, and took the flower carefully to the carriage over there. Then, he took the sword in Qin Lin's hand and walked slowly towards Yan Mo. Looking at Yan Beiqing, Yan Mo Lizi was not afraid, even distorted, and laughed. "Yan Beiqing, you would be so angry if you tormented her." "If I had known that, I would torment him for a few more hours, ha 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 ha." His words were so arrogant that he completely forgot that he was pressed on the ground by a stranger. "It's the way you look." Lin General Military just wanted to escape, did not come and escape. Now see this situation, quickly pulled Yan Emoli. "Your Highness, quickly shut up." "Shut up? Why should I shut up?" Yan Emoli is now as crazy as a general, full of sinister distortion. "In any case, I am the prince, the father has not closed his eyes, it is difficult for him to dare to kill me." "He can't kill you, but how can we be so lucky?" General Lin's face turned black, his eyes turned quickly, and he thought quickly in his heart. "Your Highness, this matter is the third prince's mastermind. The last general is only acting according to orders. Please take it lightly." General Lin thought about it again and again, but he didn't care about his old face, so he knelt down with his clothes. However, Yan Beiqing didn't listen. He took his sword to Yen Moli, and then put it across his neck. Yen Emoli's blood bead on his neck, which was needled by the flower silver on the street, has not gone down yet. At the moment, Yan Beiqing is still laughing wildly. "Yan Beiqing, how can you really dare to kill me?" From the beginning to the end, Yan Beiqing didn't say anything. His pretty face was as tight as a demon, but his killing intention never abated. Just as his strength was about to burst out, Yen Moli, who had been laughing so much that he didn't care about it, suddenly let out two in his hand, aiming at Yan Beiqing's eyes. Yen North City reaction is only faster than he dodges, in the hand long sword straight marry Yen Moli's key. At this time, Yen Moli was not as arrogant as he had just been. Instead, he began to avoid seriously. However, he now has no internal power, but Yan Beiqing's internal power seems to be better than others, but between the two moves, he has been steadily suppressed. Then, in the dismay of the twilight, Yan Beiqing did not hesitate to stab Yen Moli's abdomen with his sword. As usual, Yen Moli might be able to escape. Today, he was much slower. He was stabbed by Yan Beiqing and spat out a mouthful of blood. He covered his belly and fell to the ground. Yan Beiqing threw the bloody sword directly on the ground and told him without expression, "He can't die for a moment. He'll break his tendons and throw it into the wilderness." Finished saying, then directly jumped into the carriage, will Mo Shanghua carefully in his arms. "Eyes gentle love, Mo's son, with this king in, you will be okay." As for Lin Xiangyin, who was still in a coma on one side, he did not move her and let her lie there. As for Qin Lin and others outside the carriage at this time, they were extremely shocked. They didn't expect that Yan Beiqing could do such a thing for Mo Shanghua. He really spoiled her to the bone. As for General Lin, looking at Yen Moli who was still struggling and unwilling, he suddenly knelt down in the direction of the carriage and said, "Please take good care of my daughter, and Lin will die without regret." Now surrounded by thousands of troops, if captured this time, I'm afraid there's no way to survive. Maybe it will also affect the daughter who has just been rescued. General Lin has no hope at all. After pleading, he picks up the sword on the ground and cleanly wipes his neck. Yan Mo Li covered his bleeding abdomen. It was painful, but he was crazy with a smile, and his eyes were completely blank. This time, I'm afraid I'm really crazy. When Mo Shanghua wakes up, the first thing he sees is Yan Beicheng with a tired face and a thick shadow under his eyelids. As soon as his eyes are swept aside, South Crane Qinya is also here. Two men, Hua Qianlu and Qin Lin, are also guarding the table beside him. Lu Zhengzhen goes to urge him to cook the medicine himself. As far as you can see, it's all concern. Mo Shanghua's cold heart is infused with warmth, but the problems she is most worried about at the moment are not these. At the thought of her baby, she was frightened and nervous. Subconsciously, she raised her hand to cover her abdomen, and her cold face was in a panic. Yan Beicheng busily put Shida's hand on her plain hand and passed the temperature of her palm to her. I'm here, so are the children. Everything has been disposed of. You don't have to worry. Mo Shanghua's pale lips gently pursed, the palm slightly tightened. I almost lost him. Yan North City heart a pain, holding the hand of Mo Shanghua tight a few minutes, as far as possible put the voice more gentle. No, there will never be this day, I will always protect you. Qinya also went forward with red eyes and comforted softly, Princess, don't say anything silly. You and the child are all well. Nanha also slowed down his voice and said with a smile, he's strong and tight. Now he's lying in your stomach. The haze between the eyes on the street just dissipated. She pulled her lips and laughed. She was about to get up with her hands on the bed. This body was immediately involved in the wound on the center of her feet. She could not help but hiss in pain. Yan North City immediately full-face nervous put her carefully back on the bed. You can't get up now, you must rest assured. Seeing him like this, Mo Shanghua couldn't help laughing again. Then he suddenly thought of something. His smile narrowed a little and said, how is Lu Xiang now? She didn't care about the life and death of others, but just wanted to know what happened to the person behind the incident who once again hurt her so. Father. Mention this matter. Yan North City Yutong suddenly a cold. The evidence of this matter I have packed up all sent to your majesty in front. He naturally should handle impartially. Mo Shanghua pulled the corner of her lips, and her eyes were slightly ironic. She's the prime minister of the dynasty. How can she move so easily? As long as you don't blame me, I will get justice for you. Yan Beicheng looked down at her with lingering eyes and gentle voice. The flower on the street pursed her lips, and then lightly laughed. I'm no longer her daughter, and now I'm so hurt, so I won't be merciful. The whole process of Yan Moli's affairs was handled by Ma Jiang. According to Yan Beicheng, after the disposal, he reported it to Emperor Baorong on the ground that Yan Moli had escaped and disappeared. Emperor Baorong was very disappointed with his son and immediately ordered the whole city to search for him. As for the death of General Lin, there was no wave. But the third prince and Lu Bohan are not so easy to get rid of this time. Yan Beicheng took care of everything on the side of Mo Shanghua, then directly in the presence of Emperor Baorong and his ministers, he broke the conspiracy between Lu Bohan and King An. King An begins to promise Lu Bohan that their plot is to send the flowers out of the city. However, they are bewitched by General Lu and leave the matter to him. General Lu just wants to save his daughter and recover Lu's family. Before they enter the imperial city, they escape from prison. They meet Yan Moli quietly and cooperate with Yan Moli to do such things. It killed so many people, and King An was extremely timid. However, Yan Beicheng was scared in front of all the ministers in the court hall, and then he was scared to death, and he recruited all he knew and did. Emperor Baorong was furious. This time, Lu Bohan was doomed. However, Lu Bohan had been in the imperial court for many years and had a large number of followers, which could not be eliminated overnight. Therefore, the matter had to be shelved for the time being, and he was only temporarily imprisoned in the prime minister's office. King An didn't have such good luck. He was directly demoted from the prince to the princess, and was temporarily put under house arrest in the palace. Even Chen Fei, who didn't know about it, was innocent and locked up again. Seeing this trend, the ministers in the court were more and more determined to establish Yanbei City as the reserve. The most serious injury of Mo Shanghua is her feet. There is no injury on her body. The child in her abdomen is as strong as Nan has said. There is really nothing. She was used to suffering from pain, so when she woke up, she couldn't stay in bed. Anyway, she had to get up and go to the Prime Minister's residence. The Prime Minister's residence is a place that everyone can't avoid now, but Mo Shanghua is so determined to go. Yan Beiqing thinks for a long time and accompanies her to the Prime Minister's residence in person. Along the way, Mo Shanghua's feet did not touch the ground, but wherever she needed to walk, Yan Beiqing carried her. Mo Shanghua was rather shameless about it. He protested with Yan Beiqing several times, but he didn't want to give up. Regardless of the different eyes of the people, he took her into the Prime Minister's residence. Now Lu Bohan, who is temporarily locked up in the mansion, is bent over and worried about this situation. His daughter is holding King Yu firmly in his hand. In this way, maybe he can get out of trouble. However, even if there was no Yanbei City, relying on his students alone was enough to keep his family property. Yan Beiqing ignored Lu Bohan's view and thought of himself. He only lowered his eyes and asked in a low voice, "Do you want to sit down again for a while?" Mo Shanghua put his hands around Yan Beiqing's neck, with a reddish cheek on his head, and tried to speak in a flat tone, "Lu Xiang, I just came back to see my mother's memorial tablet." Lu Bohan repressed his inner thoughts and raised his eyes in surprise. "What does the princess want to do?" "At last, I didn't show a father's attitude." Mo Shanghua, and to see him, squint of the mouth, "Naturally want to burn incense for my mother, by the way, also ask Lu to go with me." Lu Bohan at the moment in the heart did not give up the idea of flowers on the street. Naturally there is no reason to refuse, immediately said, "Nature should be so, Prime Minister, this let people prepare to take the princess." He was held by Yan Beiqing all the way to the ancestral hall. Mo Shanghua pointed to a futon and said, "You can put me here first, and then wait for me outside." "I will come out soon." Yan Beiqing nodded slightly, carefully put the flowers on the futon, and Yutong settled on Lu Bohan for a moment. Lu Bohan suddenly cold all over, busy drooping his head. "Your Highness, rest assured, Prime Minister will take good care of the princess." Although the main reason why he has come to this stage is because of Yan Beiqing, even so, Yan Beiqing's eye-catching sight is still frightening. However, in order to survive, he can only be so respectful. Mo Shanghua adjusted her posture, knelt on the futon, raised her eyes and looked at the memorial tablets in front of her. Her eyes only stayed on the memorial tablets of her biological mother. Previously, Lu Qianqian's self-directing and self-acting brushed all these tablets to the ground, and the ashes of the tribute fell to the ground. On that day, Lu Bohan glared at her, even did not patronize her as a princess, and wanted to punish her with family law in public. Today, things are quite different. When she worships here, Lu Bohan can only be accompanied respectfully, and his words are beyond half. However, these are not the most important. Mo Shanghua gently spits out a mouthful of turbid air and bows down to the memorial tablet of the original owner's mother. After bowing, she bends down again and again, bows 3 times in a row and straightens up. In fact, to be honest, she came to worship for the original lord. She took over the identity of the original owner, and now she has avenged the original owner, so it's time to tell her mother. There are still 1 or 2 worships. At that time, Lu Qianqian made a big scene here and made amends for her. Seeing the sincerity of Huabai, Lu Bohan could not help sighing, "Your mother's life is thin. If you know that you can be as good as you are now, you will be very happy." In a word, he unconsciously put on his father's superior appearance. Is Lu Xiang joking? Did not want to, on a second also a face of devout flowers, but cold voice, not because of his words moved. Lu Bohan's face was stiff. Before he could react, he listened to her and continued, if my mother knew that her daughter, who cherishes treasure, had suffered these things after her death, would she be happy? What's more ridiculous is what a ridiculous father her daughter has. After knowing her injustice and identity, what she wants is how to use her identity to seek benefits for herself. After a pause, her voice suddenly cooled down like ice. What's more ridiculous is that this man in his father's skin still refuses to let go after his daughter is pregnant. In this case, even his grandson's life is wasted. All the dirty things were exposed on the spot. Rao was the only two of them. Lu Bohan still felt that he couldn't hold on to his face and couldn't help saying, "I never thought of taking your life. What happened with General Lin was done by King and behind my back. I didn't know it." Mo Shanghua chuckled and stood up regardless of the wound on her foot. She looked at Lu Bohan with her eyes straight. "If you didn't have a heart of utilization, how could you be found a flaw? In addition, you dare to say it in front of my mother with a clear conscience. When I just entered the mansion, you didn't have any idea of using me to get out of trouble." He tried to find some words to explain. He couldn't say a word to the icy cheek of the flower on the street, the memorial tablet of her mother and the memorial tablet of the ancestors. Mo Shanghua looked back at the memorial tablet of the original owner's mother and said, "Lu Bohan, you are husband, but you can't protect your wife all your life. I'm sorry for your wife who has worked hard all your life. As a minister, you can't be loyal. I'm sorry for Lu's honesty. As a father, you are cold and mean to the extreme. You have no benevolence when you make use of it several times. There's no merit at all in front of Lu's ancestors." Mo Shanghua's accusation seemed to have played a role in Lu Bohan's heart, which made him silent. This passage was repeated in his heart, and it was in front of the tablets of the ancestors. He felt a sense of shame in his heart. He knelt down uncontrollably, looked up at the tablets of the ancestors, looked at the tablets of the original mother, and tried to explain, but still couldn't say a word. Mo Shanghua is right. He is a selfish, indifferent, cruel, unfaithful and unfilial man. However, he has been struggling in power all these years, and has already lost his original intention. I'm afraid that after the new emperor takes over the throne, there will be no place for him in the court. This is why he has made many moves. He just wants to continue to control the court and even the new emperor in the future. Mo Shanghua looked at Lu Bohan kneeling on the ground, his eyes and eyebrows condensed. "Lu Xiang, in fact, what I am most curious about is, after 100 years, do you have the face to meet these people?" The words of Mo Shanghua successfully lead to some memories of Lu Bohan. His wife, who died only 1 year, and his honest and loyal father, make his dirtiest heart feel as if he had been struck by lightning. The more he thinks about it, the more he feels guilty. Mo Shanghua quietly looks at Lu Bohan kneeling on the ground. His face shows his regret for the first time. His voice suddenly drops. "When you are this old, you have a lot of wealth, and others may never get the power. Why not be satisfied? No matter how much you want, you still have to go to hell after death. You are not qualified to see Lu's ancestors again." He said, "Lu Xiang, although you have great power in the court, no matter who the new emperor will be, a once disloyal minister will never get any reuse, and will be regarded as a thorn in the eye. Take care of yourself. She won't take Lu Bohan's life, and she won't fight him. She just asked him for the original owner and his mother. However, this is only the last time. From then on, if Lu Bohan wants to use her, she will not be soft-hearted." Yan Beicheng has been guarding not far from the gate of the ancestral temple. At the moment, he saw that Mo Shanghua had come out by herself. He quickly stepped forward and picked her up again. Mu Lu scolded, "How did you come out by yourself? If you want to come out, just shout and I'll go in and hold you." The flower on the street is hidden to the cold meaning of anger in the eyes just now, and smiles at him. "I have already told you that my foot injury is not a big problem, you can walk on your own." Yan Beicheng was dignified. "I also told you that no matter it's serious or not, you can't go to the ground by yourself, otherwise the wound will split again." "I'll see for you when I get into the carriage," said, the footstep bigger and lighter. "Just want to quickly return to the carriage." Good for Mo Shanghua check injury. Mo Shanghua simply does not retort. She leans her head against Yan Beicheng's arms and smiles. She was very glad that she met such a husband. At this time, Lu Bohan in the ancestral hall, the words of the flowers in the street are like sharp blades, directly dissecting all his dirtiest and dirtiest places without leaving any feelings. And those are the faces he has always ignored and never admitted. Maybe when someone died in front of him because of his plan, he could still not see any waves on the surface, but in front of his ancestors, he could not say with a clear conscience that he had never done anything to be ashamed of his ancestors, his wife and daughter, or the king. He is really a disloyal, unfilial and unrighteous man. Lu Bohan looked up at many memorial tablets, and some of them slumped down, with deep wrinkles and gullies on his face. The incident between King En and Lu Bohan brought great stimulation to Barong Emperor. That night, Yangxin Hall called Lu Zheng to the palace for treatment, and the palace was busy again because of Barong Emperor's affairs. Mo Shanghua is pregnant, and her feet are seriously injured. She doesn't have to go there at this time. But Yan Beicheng's heart is not far away, and she still has to go to the palace. Yan Xinchuan's body is bedridden, so she can't go, except for the two of them. Many concubines in the rest of the palace went to Yangxin Hall under the guidance of Shufei, and all the other princesses and princesses went to Yangxin Hall. From late at night to daytime, Yanbei City never came back. The palace is very busy, but there is only flowers on the street here, especially quiet and complacent. As soon as you wake up in the morning, there is a soup breakfast prepared by Qinya. All the meals are the best. Nanha also came to visit Mo Shanghua in the morning. Now, she doesn't have to do things in secret. Now Yan Beicheng doesn't need them to interfere in the affairs of the court. She naturally feels relaxed and complacent every day and comes to visit Mo Shanghua when she's free. However, Qinya thought privately that this lady Nan, no, it should be Nanha girl. She came to eat and drink. Mo Shanghua looks at Qinya standing on one side and her eyes staring at the food. She can't help laughing. Qinya, there's no outsider here. You're still stuck with something. Just sit down. After a pause, he deliberately lengthened his voice and said, "This is the last time I asked. If you still don't eat, I can't help it." Qinya saw so many delicious food in front of her eyes. Yan Beicheng spared no effort to find a cook who could make the most pregnant women's meals from the best restaurants in the Kingdom of God. Although it was specially for pregnant women, it was even more delicious than that regulated by Princess Hua. Nanha has flowers every day and Qianlu makes her happy. Now she is much more relaxed in front of the flowers in the street. Seeing her laughing and teasing, "I just told you that you don't want to be on both sides. Now your saliva is almost flowing down." Qinya is not shy, and no matter whether Nanha is present or not, she smiles at Hualu teeth on the street and makes it. She puts a crystal meat bag in her mouth and says vaguely, "I've been enduring it for the sake of the princess's face, but you don't care. I'm not polite." With that, he extended his chopsticks to the egg soup in front of Nanha. Nanha let the egg soup out with a smile and joked, "Sister Mo, your little maid used to be quite disrespectful to me. Now I have given up my arms and surrendered. I think it's better to punish her to stand aside." The stranger knew that she was only teasing, and she was in a good mood, so she made a face and said, "Qinya, since you are so disrespectful to Nanha girl, please stand aside." Qinya's mouth hasn't been swallowed yet. Hearing the words, she suddenly stares and nearly chokes herself. Hard to swallow food in the mouth, just looked at the flowers on the street with a full face of grievance. "Princess, I know I'm wrong." The flower on the street can't stand laughing anymore, so she laughs. Nanha is also involved in the corner of his lips, laughing and joking, "Sister Mo, I didn't see that you are so funny before. In order to eat anything, if not, I would have asked her to come directly and stay beside me to tease her." Qinya then realized that they were trying to tease themselves, and she was not afraid of it. She immediately snorted, "According to the situation of that day, if you ask the princess for me, I will poison you 10 times and 8 times a day." Mo Shanghua put the steamed egg in front of Qinya with a smile and said angrily, "You can't stop eating." As soon as Qinya saw what she had eaten, she couldn't remember anything. She said immediately, if you don't tell me, I'll eat well. A few people that tease is a burst of light smile again. Just at this time, a maidservant suddenly rushed forward, to the stranger flowers after the ceremony, said, return to the princess, the day before yesterday brought back Miss Lin suddenly said to see you. It must be Lin Xiangyin. In fact, if it was not for the maidservant to come, the flowers in the street might have forgotten the existence of Lin Xiangyin. In fact, Yan Beiqing took good care of her these days. She was not allowed to interfere any time, so she forgot about it for the time being. Now she remembered Lin Xiangyin and said, she was in the mansion the day before yesterday. Who ordered her to be taken care of? The maid stood with her hands down, respectful, it's the Lord who ordered her to come down, but Miss Lin lives in a remote place. There's been some noise these 2 days, and the Lord didn't let you back. Bring her here. Mo Shanghua thought about it and said to the maid. Yes. The maid went back to England. South Crane this just eyes due surprised of see toward Mo Shanghua, she in the mouth of girl Lin is who? Why are they brought back by the Lord? Qinya didn't understand who Miss Lin was, and now she looked at her curiously. Mo Shanghua put down his chopsticks for a while and said calmly, it's Lin Xiangyin, the princess of Yan Moli. South Crane also put chopsticks, eyebrows tightly up, why do you want to bring her back? She's here. What if Yan Moli has another accident there? What's more, she was taken into custody by the Zongrenfu. If she rashly appeared outside, she would be regarded as a fugitive. Nanha, too, clenched his fist and said, Princess, Princess Ling has framed you before. You are not asking for trouble. If she bites you back, it would be bad. Mo Shanghua is very calm, as if the matter is not worth worrying about in general, I have my own opinion, you don't have to worry. Qinya thought about it, wiped the grease on her mouth, and stood up. Lin Xiangyin lives in a remote place, but fortunately this house is not big. She is led by her maidservant in a short time. The coarse cloth on her body has been changed, and she has put on the brocade prepared for her by the maid in the house. However, she seems to have been used to plain and pure, and she no longer pursues the gorgeous and charming appearance of the past. Even the brocade is still the plain brocade. What makes Mo Shanghua even more surprised is that Lin Xiangyin, the maid, has been crying in the past 2 days and tomorrow. But when she meets Mo Shanghua today, she is clean, quiet and clever, and her former arrogance and pride are no longer there. Even Qinya was surprised to see it. She wondered whether this clever woman was Lin Xiangyin. Sister Mo, Lin Xiangyin didn't call Yan Mashang's sister-in-law, but called her as if she hadn't married. Sit down, please. She was so polite that she would not be embarrassed by the flowers on the street. She nodded and asked her to sit down for a while. Lin Xiangyin sat down obediently and said thanks in a soft voice. Then she said, I just have some questions to ask you. At the moment, she was very careful and knowledgeable, as if she was the same as Lin Xiangyin, who was full of misery and despair. Mo Shanghua was a little surprised at her change, but she didn't ask much at last. She opened her lips slightly and said, I know what you want to ask. I can tell you clearly that your father really saved you that day. It's just that your father's guilt is too heavy and he has already committed suicide. Now Yan Moli is also living in exile and has no news. Qinya told her the news one by one after the event. However, when it comes to Yan Moli's there, she still hides something. It's not guilt, it's just that Lin Xiangyin used to love Yan Moli so much, I'm afraid she can't accept it. However, Lin Xiangyin's performance surprised Mo Shanghua. When she heard the news of her father's death, she didn't react too much. She just shivered a little, bit her lips tightly, closed her eyes, and didn't cry as she imagined. At this time, not only the flowers on the street, but also Qinya was surprised at her performance. He didn't know Lin Xiangyin's former temperament. He just thought that she was strong, so he handed her his handkerchief. Lin Xiangyin said thanks, but she just held the handkerchief tightly in her hand. After a long time, her whole body trembled and then stopped a little. On the contrary, she began to smile with relief and ease. It's okay. In this way, I will be really alone in the future. Looking at the woman who is strong now, Mo Shanghua is moved and silent for a moment, and says, if you want to start a new life, I can prepare a fake identity for you. Lin Xiangyin did not refuse. Unexpectedly, she agreed simply, okay, I accept. After a pause, she said, I just don't want to stay in the imperial city, and I don't want to be attached to you. I want to wait for you to deal with my identity, and then I want to go to other places to have a look. Now, she doesn't blame anyone. She can only blame him for the ambition of the Lin family. She meets Yan Moli, an equally ambitious wolf. The result is doomed. What Mo Shanghua said is really what she needs most now. If she refuses, she can only wait to be caught back in the patriarchal clan. Mo Shanghua was a little relieved to see her like this and said, in this case, I will arrange for you to be a lady of an official family. In this way, the future of life can live freely, food and clothing. Clearly is the best arrangement, but this time Lin Xiangyin shook her head and refused, whispered, as long as the family is innocent, I just want to be an ordinary woman, those rich life I have already experienced. Speaking of this, she couldn't help laughing at herself, maybe this is the body of the young lady and the life of the servant girl. No, maybe I'm better than the servant girl of Lin house. Lin's house has been raided. Naturally, all her servants and servants have been sold. Naturally, she can't compare with today's one. She has a chance to come back. Thinking of this, Lin Xiangyin could not help but bring up a series of sad things in the past. Her eyes showed some sadness. He pinched the palm of his hand and scattered all the unhappy things in his mind. Lin Xiangyin stood up and bowed to the flowers on the street. Thank you very much. After that, he straightened up and said with a relieved smile, everything in the past is gone now. I will live a new life. I don't blame you and hate you anymore. However, I can't say anything to wish you happiness. I hope you and I will never meet again in the future. Mo Shanghua also stood up and raised her lips to smile, since you said so, I wish you and I would never meet again in the future. Everything in the world is so interesting. No matter what status and position they used to be, it's a kind of fate to be able to sit here and get together now. How can we calculate the gratitude and resentment clearly? It's better to smile and forget the gratitude and resentment. The death knell of Baorong Emperor came so fast that he died that night before Lu Zheng's half-month-old. When the death knell was introduced into the Empress Dowager's palace, the Empress Dowager, who was already seriously ill, heard that her illness worsened again and seemed to go away at any time. The palace was in a mess. The most important reason is that Emperor Baorong did not say clearly whether to make Yanbei City as a reserve or to make others. There is a case of King Yan. The princes who had some ambition for the throne were deeply afraid of Yan Beiqing's wrist. No one dared to fight for it. Even when Emperor Baorong died, they only dared to live with their tails in their hands. They were afraid that Yan Beiqing would really ascend the throne someday and settle accounts in the autumn. In front of the body of Emperor Baorong still lying on the bed, all the ministers knelt down in front of Yan Beiqing and cried out, the country can't be without a monarch for a day. Please Your Highness, you inherit the great unification as soon as possible. Your Highness, King Yu, please inherit the great rule. Your Highness, King Yu, please inherit the great rule. When the voice of all the ministers came into his ears, Yan Beiqing felt very annoyed. Jun's face was tight and didn't say a word. Mo Shanghua gently took his hand and said in a low voice, wait a second. Yan Beiqing nodded slightly, and a touch of heartache flashed in his eyes. What he couldn't bear most was that he had to go to the palace because of the unhealed foot injury of Mo Shanghua. He didn't know how many times he had been forced by the ministers in the past month, and there was no mood fluctuation in his heart. After pondering for a while, he came forward and said, before the death of my father, my favorite prince was the 13th younger brother. Now my father's body is not cold, how can I go against his will? In the middle of the court, Emperor Baorong, who thought that he was born in Galau Station, glanced over his bed. He just swallowed his breath, and his face was full of pain. Your Majesty likes to be the third prince, but the 13th prince is weak. He is only half a month away from government affairs and falls ill again. How can he be a great leader? The rest of the ministers also had the same look of grief. Anyway, Yan Xinchuan was weak and not suitable for inheriting the grand unification. Now that Emperor Baorong had just died, he was too weak to come. The concubines and princes knelt on the right side. They didn't dare to interrupt the words of the ministers. They just cried in a low voice. Other people even Xu Fei is silent. One side was the cry of a group of imperial concubines and eunuchs, and the other side was the cry of the ministers. Yan Beiqing had a headache and was about to argue again, but suddenly the voice of the servant outside the hall rang out. The 13th prince arrived. As soon as his voice fell, he saw Yan Xinchuan walking in a hurry and flying into the palace. Regardless of all the ministers and concubines, he came forward to confirm that Emperor Baorong was really dead. Then he knelt down straight down, full of pain and sadness. "Father, my son is late." And buried his head tightly on the ground. The courtiers immediately hissed and looked at Yan Xinchuan, who was kneeling on the ground. He was quite surprised. Look at the appearance of the third prince just now. It seems that his life is not long. Mo Shanghua immediately raised her hand and twisted it around Yan Beiqing's waist, and then indicated with her eyes. Yan North City just very reluctantly, also put on a bit of heavy air, came forward to Yan Xinchuan to lift up. 13 Emperor younger brother, I'm sorry. Yan Xinchuan raised his head with the help of Yan Beiqing, but he still knelt and didn't get up. Thank you, brother 5. At that time, Yan Xinchuan's face was full of sadness, and his eyes were moist, but how did he look? He was not half sick, even a little healthy. Yan Beiqing seems to have expected this for a long time, not shocked. Mo Shanghua has been practicing medicine all the year round, but he is quite surprised. What's the matter? How can Yan Xinchuan's illness heal so quickly? She did not know that Yan Xinchuan had promised in Yanbei City that he had a way. As if everything had been arranged in advance, he thought that the minister just stood up and said, "The 13 princes have a ruddy complexion and a healthy figure. It's obviously normal. Who is it? It's rumored that His Highness's life will not last long." At the end of the speech, another minister stood up and said, "Since Your Highness is in good health, and Your Majesty once ordered His Highness to supervise the country before he died, the candidate for the throne should be His Highness." The rest of the ministers discussed with each other secretly. When they had Yan Xinchuan as the candidate, they realized that Yan Beiqing's temperament was rather cruel. It was Yan Xinchuan's gentle temperament that made him a benevolent king. They immediately bowed down and called out, "Your Highness, please obey Your Majesty's will, ascend the throne as soon as possible, and inherit the grand unification." Xu Fei looks up in surprise and looks at her ruddy son. She feels that something is wrong. However, due to the current situation, she doesn't know what to say. She can't help but tighten her handkerchief and looks at him. Mo Shanghua is also full of surprise. Only Yan Beiqing breathed a breath and clenched Mo Shanghua's hand. I thought Yan Xinchuan should be able to get rid of one or two, but he didn't think about it. He just turned his eyes and looked at Yan Beiqing and his wife in the street. He said in a warm voice, "Brother, I've been ordered here. If I don't want to be worried about my father, please forgive me." With that, he turned around and went to the ministers in front of him. His voice was gentle and steady. "You turn down." Xu Fei's handkerchief was suddenly pierced by her long armor. I don't know why she always felt uneasy. In a remote village near the imperial city, a list was posted in the village. Baorong Emperor died, and the whole country mourned. The man with dirty and disordered hair climbed under the list, and his handsome face was covered by his hair. When you look at it carefully, it turns out that he was the King Ling who used to be the most noble in the past. But at this time, he was just like a beggar, with weak hands and feet. He just climbed in with his body. Rao was still unable to see the contents of the high list. The villager's surprise made him understand the contents of the list. He suddenly uttered a strange cry, then laughed and murmured, "My father is dead, I'm going to be the emperor, I'm going to be the emperor." The villagers disgusted to avoid and scolded, "Madman. Yan Xinchuan finally became emperor surrounded by all the ministers. However, in the meantime, the funeral, which lasted for 3 months, has to be handled. In the past 3 months, in addition to the imperial concubines, princesses and princesses, the ministers and the wives of the imperial court have to go to the palace to watch the spirit and worship. They have to endure for 3 months before they can bury Baorong Emperor's body. It's okay for others, but Mo Shanghua is still pregnant and kneels all day long. Yan Beiqing is afraid that she can't bear it, so he can't bear the charge of being unfilial. He asks Yan Xinchuan for the imperial edict, so that she can kneel down less and often take a rest. During this period, Yan Xinchuan was also very busy. The Empress Dowager is seriously ill, and he has no wife, so many things have to be blamed on him alone. There is only a limited amount of help that Xu Fei can do, so he is very busy. Mo Shanghua doesn't have the chance to see him. Lu Zheng is also out of the palace after Baorong Emperor worked overtime. She has been staying in the palace for 3 months, and has no chance to ask Yan Xinchuan about his illness. She had asked Yan Beiqing in private, and Yan Beiqing was also at a loss. This thought in the heart of doubt for a few days, but soon no such mood. The first 3 months of her baby's life were pretty good, but after March, the daily pregnancy, vomiting and all kinds of discomfort never stopped. Her stomach became bigger and bigger day by day, and it was more and more inconvenient to kneel down. However, the funeral period could not be avoided in any case. After suffering for 3 months, Baorong Emperor was finally buried, and Yan Xinchuan officially became emperor. At that time, Mo Shanghua was 6 months pregnant, and her belly was 2 fists higher than her foot. However, she was not as mobile as an ordinary woman. For those 3 months, she had to worship every day, and she often felt sick during pregnancy and vomiting. Mo Shanghua only felt that she was more grinding than before when she practiced martial arts every day. Therefore, her body seems to be better than that of normal pregnant women. Even after standing for a long time, she won't feel lumbago. Rao is so, Yan Beiqing is still distressed, only feel ashamed of the flowers on the street, day by day are carefully waiting. Originally, after the new emperor ascended the throne, the other vassal kings had already left for the vassal area, but their couple had to stay here because they were old. King Yu's house has been renovated, but Mo Shanghua prefers this small house. They stay here for a while. They can go back to Yuzhou to live happily after Mo Shanghua gives birth. Now it has been closed in recent years, and the weather has been excellent in recent days. Mo Shanghua holds his back with one hand and caresses his high belly with the other hand, like a cat who has fallen asleep, squinting lazily. The thick long eyelashes of Pu Fan cast a light green shadow at the moment, and the full and ruddy lips are more like fresh cherries. Qinya saw that Mo Shanghua went out of the house alone, and hurriedly went to help her. "Princess, you don't call me a slave when you get up. If you have a mistake, the Lord will surely kill me." Hua Shui's eyes on the street blinked, glanced at Mo Ling in the corridor, and said with a smile, "It's clear that you left your little husband and ignored me. Now I'm blamed." Qinya's white and tender cheek was like a cooked crab, embarrassed and annoyed. "Princess, what are you talking about? I'm just grateful for Brother Mo's help." Mo Ling in the corridor seems to have heard the conversation between the master and the servant. A wooden face softens 3 points and looks at Qinya with eyes full of spoiling. "What kind of gentleman, Qinya, don't take the king's princess ill." Just then, he heard Yan Beiqing's smiling voice. Qinya immediately covered her face and ran away. "I don't have a maid. It's the princess who teases me. Since you don't trust me, you'd better take care of the princess yourself." Say, a slip of smoke then arrived at Mo Ling's side, red face pulls him to want to go. Just out of the distance, Qinya's exclamation came again, "Brother, how did you come back?" Not, "How did you come back?" "The barracks are fine today." "Hey, brother, what are you doing, brother?" Listening to the noise outside, the eyebrows on the street stretch out, and the old quiet eyes are full of smiles. Such a day is really pleasant. Yan Beiqing has already stood in front of Mo Shanghua with a negative hand. He clearly looks so cold in front of others. Now when he comes to her, he blinks his eyes and looks aggrieved. Mo Shanghua was both funny and helpless. He said with a smile, "Your Highness, King Yu, who is famous for killing people like hemp, is it not funny that you are like this now?" However, in just a few months, Yan Beicheng's image has changed from a notorious Lord Ugly to a ruthless King Yu. Before and after, it seems that it is just the difference between yesterday and today. Yan North City does not think lightly, does not care at all. This king cherishes love. Imperial concubine, can only be a good word, how can make a person joke. With that, he suddenly takes out his hands behind him like a juggler, and a large cluster of bright roses suddenly bumps into the eyes of flowers on the street. She looked at the enchanting roses with astonishment. She couldn't believe that the flowers from the 21st century would appear here. Yanbei City, where did you get it from? The flowers on the street took that bunch of roses, and some water flashed in their eyes. When did she shed tears in front of others? With a smile, Yan Beicheng helped Mo Shanghua to enter the house. He helped her to take off her thick cloak and pluck the charcoal basin. With a proud face, "It's not difficult for me. If you still want it, there are many more for you to pick." Mo Shanghua took one out of it and put it on her nose to smell it. It was really fragrant and intoxicating. "I only said it once, and you are so attached to it. It's winter, and you." What she said, but no matter how much she said, she was dumb at this time, and 1,000 words were stuck in her throat. This rose is common in the 21st century, but how can the world have it? She really can't imagine how he got it. Yan Beicheng smiles and gently pinches her mellow face. "I'm not here to make you unhappy. If I don't smile, I'm sorry for the large amount of money I spent in Japan." The flowers on the street pursed their lips and finally laughed. Her face was cold and indifferent, and now she laughed like this, only several times more beautiful than the rose in front of her. Yan Beicheng was filled with great satisfaction and happiness. He put his ear on the protruding belly of Mo Shanghua and said with a smile, "Now you are the only one who is short of this little villain in your stomach." Mo Shanghua clenched his hand with a smile. They clasped their fingers. Her voice was light and gentle. "In the future, I only want to be with you so long." Yan North City Yutong light flashed for a while, clenched her soft Su hand. "I will always be with you. The sun is shining high and the wind is warm." But in the blink of an eye, 4 months passed in a hurry. Mo Shanghua was 9.5 months pregnant, but now she is still walking around in the hospital with a big belly. As she said, "It's for better production." She is the best doctor. Yan Beicheng naturally believes her words. As soon as it's warm in spring, she helps her to walk around every day. Even Chinya is relaxed every day. As long as Yan Beicheng is there, she can be lazy. But now Mo Shanghua month big, she also dare not walk around at will, oneself in the mansion arrest, also want to arrest Mo Ling together in the mansion. As for Hua Qianlu and Nan He, Hua Qianlu doesn't like to be restrained, so he takes Nan He to travel all over the world. He often sends back some new small things, which is very comfortable and interesting. Mo Shanghua holds her waist and abdomen with one hand and plays with a Japanese-style shoe similar to the one made of 20th century lace. She says with a smile, "These shoes are lovely, but they are for girls. I don't know men and women in my stomach now." As a matter of fact, with the medical skill of Mo Shanghua, we can judge the male and female for a long time. However, since her fetal image was stable, she almost never felt her own pulse. She was afraid that she might accidentally diagnose a man or a woman. She just wanted to let it go. Yan Beicheng cautiously held the flowers on the street. Hearing the words, he could not help but curl his mouth. "What's so nice about this thing? I see, even a girl should wear bright and beautiful clothes to be charming and lovely." After a pause, he said, "This thing must not be selected by the willows. Otherwise, according to Hua Qianliu's character, he would choose a red and purple one." Mo Shanghua wanted to raise his hand to twist Yan Beicheng. As soon as he moved his hand, he felt some pain on his waist. He couldn't take it away, so he just looked at him angrily. "You know what? Although the look is exquisite, the pattern is the most exquisite. Moreover, even if you really find colorful ones for you, you are afraid to say that they are extremely vulgar. Yen North City lightly hums a full face of proud jiao of color. My son, these things naturally should I prepare personally. Mo Shanghua turns her eyes and takes a look at him. As a new mother, Mo Shanghua's face seems to be more mature than before. Only this one eye, then saw Yen Beiqing body and mind rippling, but she had such a big stomach in front of her body, it made him feel like cat claws. The flower on the street looks clearly, the corner of lips knocks gently, deliberately ignores, continues to walk forward. But after walking slowly for a little time, she couldn't bear it. She stopped walking, her red lips slightly opened, and kept breathing deeply. Seeing this, Yen Beiqing helped her to sit down in the corridor first, but just after touching the chair, the eyebrows of Mo Shanghua frowned tightly again. He covered his bulging belly with his hands and said, "It hurts, Yen Beiqing, it hurts." Yen Beiqing had never seen Mo Shanghua like this before. He was shocked and cried eagerly, "Does it hurt? Are you going to have a baby soon? Come on, please go and invite Wenpa." But so you say I time, abdominal pain will suddenly increase, pain on her forehead has been sweating, tightly bite the lip can barely cry out. CMO Shanghua so painful appearance, Yen Beiqing's heart also seems to be tightly pulled into a ball, busy clenched Mo Shanghua's hand, let her try to relax in his arms. "I am, Moer, don't be afraid, I am here." He had tried to control himself to make his voice sound a little calm, but his trembling vocal cords couldn't hide from the stranger. But at this time, she did not have the strength to comfort Yen Beiqing. The pain in her abdomen was aggravated with the passage of time. She suddenly felt a sudden warmth in her lower body, extending along the inner thigh to the lower leg. Mo Shanghua bit her lips and said, "Sheep, the amniotic fluid is broken." Qinya Mo Ling, who is far away, hears this sentence as soon as he comes here. He is in a panic and goes down to find Wenpa in a hurry. But in the blink of an eye, the courtyard is in a mess. Until Mo Shanghua lay on the bed, Yen Beiqing still held her hand. Ear seems to hear a few Wenpa repeatedly dissuade Yen Beiqing to go out, hear ominous voice, but Mo Shanghua never feel, that hands had a moment of relaxation. The pain in her abdomen was very painful. She thought it was the limit at the beginning, but she didn't expect that the pain tortured her for 3 hours. Every half an hour, the pain became more and more painful. It's more painful than a few arrows. It's 100 times more painful than suturing a wound without anesthetics. It's very clear that she's just at the entrance of the palace, and it's not the time of real production. Even so, the pain is still there. At that time, she was awkwardly obedient to Wenpa's instructions, lying on the bed. Her whole face was very pale, her hair was soaked with sweat, and her lips were almost bleeding. Yen Beiqing did not let go of her hand for a moment. He saw all her pain in his eyes, and his heart was the same pain. His eyes were full of blood, and the hand shaking gently. Moer, you need to come on, I will always accompany you, For the first time in his life, Yen Beiqing's mind is blank, and he can't even say a complete word. He really didn't know how to relieve the pain of Mo Shanghua. He simply put his arm to her lips and said, "Moer, if you can't bear the pain, you will bite my hand." The flowers on the street are almost unconscious of the pain, but they still turn their heads. Qinya hastily brought the ginseng soup, red eyes looking at Yen Beiqing who occupied the position in front of the bed. "Lord, give the princess some ginseng soup." Yen North City ordered to nod, a hand will Mo Shanghua helped up, will ginseng soup to her lips. Mo Shanghua didn't know much about it. He just drank a few mouthfuls by instinct and began to cough. Yen Beiqing married Shintang and threw it to Qinya. He wiped off the water stains on her lips, put her back on the bed, clenched her hand again, and looked at the busy Wenpa. "What's the matter?" Wenpa squatted down and looked at it carefully. Then she looked up and said in a hurry, "It's almost done. Please continue to breathe deeply and exert yourself. Deep breath. Hard, ma'am." In a daze, it seems that the words in the ear of Mo Shanghua are replaced by such words. However, in that scene, there is no Yan Beiqing who is unwilling to leave at any time, just a busy woman and maid. Such a situation seems to be in the past, and it seems to be in the present, so that Mo Shanghua can hardly tell whether it is the imagination or the present reality, but only Wenpa's guidance is surprisingly consistent. She just instinctively takes deep breath again and again according to Wenpa's words. At midnight, Mo Shanghua raised her head and cried out in great pain, something suddenly slipped out of her body. Her nerves were weak at this time, and her head fell back on the pillow, unconscious. In a trance, she seemed to hear Wenpa holding her child and asking for a reward with a smile, "Congratulations, master, you are 1,000 gold. Well, let's call it Cloud Dance." The man looked at the child in Wenpa's hand, a little disappointed. "Congratulations, little Prince Yushiwa is lovely and very similar to the princess." Wenpa holds the child who has been washed clean and comes to Yan Beiqing with a happy face. Yan North City turned a Mao to see one eye, then the vision falls back to at the moment sleepy don't wake up of Mo Shanghua body, voice hoarse, take down first let the nurse look at. Wenpa didn't expect that Yan Beiqing didn't have such a cold attitude, and she couldn't believe it. Qinya, with her red and swollen eyes, went forward to look at the child and took out a heavy purse from her arms. "It's hard for Mammy. The nurse is in the room over there. I'll take you there." Mo Shanghua has finished production, and the house has been tidied up. Lu Zheng, who has been guarding the door, is able to come in. After helping Mo Shanghua pass the pulse, he says, "She's just overconsumed. Take a rest, and she'll wake up soon." Said, "I have ordered people to boil medicine first, she has no other disease, you don't have to worry too much." Yan Beiqing didn't open his mouth. He just nodded slightly. He held the hand of Mo Shanghua in both hands. He refused to let go. The blood of Yutong didn't dissipate, but it became more and more. Now there was a green shadow. "You've had it all day and night. If you don't take a rest first, she won't wake up for a moment." Seeing this, Lu Zheng gently comforted him. Yan Beiqing is silent, eyes always fixed on the pale face of flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua, who was asleep, seemed to feel Yan Beiqing's worry. Her eyebrows frowned slightly, her lips opened slightly, and she said, "Cloud Dance." Lu Zheng couldn't really hear it. He just looked at Yan Beiqing helplessly, "Let me see how the medicine is boiled first." Then he retreated. At that time, Yan Beiqing, whose face was the same, suddenly crossed the dark color in his eyes and drew his ears closer. The fashion of Mo Shanghua is sleeping, but it has been unconsciously whispering, "Cloud Dance, where are you? Cloud Dance." Yan Beiqing's face has completely changed. His quiet eyes are like ink, and slowly spread a very deep and unpredictable ink. He looked at the flowers on the street for a long time, and suddenly raised his right hand. There was no Dharma seal in his hand, but it slowly condensed a layer of pale gold light. Then, he slowly put his hand on her forehead, and the pale golden light magnified a circle. But in a moment, the flower on the street was quiet again, and he closed his eyes and fell asleep. The light in Yan Beiqing's palm dissipated, and he held her hand again. There was a bit of fatigue between her eyebrows and eyes. It's not that I don't want you to miss you, but now is not the time. When the time comes, I will accompany you to look for it." Said, he bowed his head, extremely gentle on the white forehead of the flower gently kiss. After a full day's sleep, Mo Shanghua woke up. The pain on her body had completely disappeared, and her stomach was shriveled, but her chest was heavy, as if she was oppressed by something. Shi Lo Mao sees past, was originally carelessly fell asleep Yan Beiqing. Mo Shanghua raised his hand and gently stroked his forehead and hair, and his lips began to smile. Yan Beiqing seemed very tired. He didn't wake up by her actions. He still fell asleep quietly, breathing steadily and evenly. Qinya also fell asleep on the table beside her. The flower on the street didn't make a sound, but she seemed to have a sense of what it was like to wake up. Seeing that the flower on the street had already woken up, she suddenly woke up completely. Princess, you are awake. I'm worried about you. Although Qin Yaping is also a person with delicate mind, the surprise at this time makes her completely forget Yan Beicheng, who is still sleeping. Therefore, Yan Beicheng suddenly woke up, and a pair of bloody faces suddenly appeared in front of the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua caresses Yan Beicheng's eyebrows, and his voice is also hoarse. How can you become like this? However, one day and one night, Yan Beicheng's eyes were full of blood, his chin was covered with black stubble, and his hair was messy, as if he were a despondent king. Why on earth did he become like this? If you know who you are, you will feel even worse. Yan Beicheng pulled out a smile, gently grabbed her hand, gently kiss, you do not wake up, I will not have a moment to be at ease. Qinya has also been working hard these 2 days. Yan Beicheng is depressed about Mo Shanghua, and she doesn't want to leave for a moment. Naturally, she wants the maid Wenpa to take care of Mo Shanghua. She is also very tired at the moment. Mo Ling has been guarding the outer room, now also came in, said, since the princess wakes up, then Qinya will go back with me to have a rest. Qinya nodded. She was so tired that she said with a smile to the flower in the street, the Lord hasn't left you for a moment these days. Finish saying, then quickly carrying to skirt to go out with Mo Ling together. One is knowing that Mo Shanghua and Yan Beicheng must have a lot to say at the moment. The other is that she is really tired. Qin Lin is in the military camp. He wants to come in to have a look at the latest news, but Qin Yigang turns him out as soon as he comes out and asks him to wait for his child to come at the full moon. At that time, there were only 2 people in the house, Yan Beicheng and Mo Shanghua. Mo Shanghua was distressed by Yan Beicheng. She touched her flat abdomen with the other hand and said, where's the child? Is it a boy or a girl? As soon as I wake up, I think about my children. Yan North City full of resentment glanced at the flowers on the street, but still raised his voice, come on, bring the child in. Qinya is not there. There are other maidservants outside the door. After a while, the nurse will hold the baby in her arms. Under the guidance of Wenpa, Mo Shanghua hugs the child. The child in her arms is tightly wrapped and shows a little red face. Her hand is bigger than before. Now she sleeps soundly with her eyes closed. She can't see whether it is beautiful or ugly. Clearly still can't see the beauty and ugliness, but the nanny said with a smile, the little son is born more like a princess, and he must be a handsome young man in the future. Yan North City lightly hums quite discontented, no matter who Xiao looks like, toss her mother like this, in the future I want to drill him well. Mo Shanghua was holding the child in her arms. Her eyebrows and eyes were soft, and her lips were smiling. I thought it would be a daughter, but I didn't expect it to be such a tossing boy. Boys, too. By the way, have you ever thought of a name? Well, I thought about that a few months ago. Although the child was in great pain, Yan Beicheng looked forward to the child with their blood and bone from the bottom of his heart and said, it's called Xizhou. What do you think? Yan Xizhou? The flower on the street drooped her eyes and whispered softly. Looking at the child sleeping sweetly in her arms, the corner of her lip involuntarily gently pulled up, okay, that's what you said, it's called Xizhou. Seeing that the eyebrows on the street are so gentle, Yan Beicheng can't help but gather around and look at Yan Xizhou together. The little man seemed to feel the deep love and concern of his parents. At this time, he fell asleep and opened his eyes. His obsidian eyes rolled and his mouth grinned. Yan North City originally intended to plate up the face also showed a smile, 2 nights a day did not sleep army ant swept away, Mo son, you see, this child's mouth eyes like you. Just now also a pair of unwilling to see a second more appearance, how now say the words also with nanny as irrelevant. The flowers on the street are funny and speechless. Soon they are attracted by the little boat in their arms. They just look at them and love them. They will never let go again. Shortly after Beirongdi's death, banquets are not allowed in the city for half a year. Therefore, Xiaosizu's full moon ceremony only invites 2 people's friends. Mo Shanghua is a person who can't stay idle. I'm afraid that an ordinary woman even has to lie on the bed at this time, but she got down early. Now she is sitting in the hall with her child in her arms. The cool color between her eyebrows and eyes has completely faded, and her eyes are full of soft smile. Xiao Xizhou is now full term. She is not red and white. She is very fat and white. Her face is less than the size of a palm, and her flesh is almost down to her chin. Her eyes are dark, smart and good-looking. Ordinary children are not sensible at this time. When others hold them, they will cry. This little boat is a good-natured child. When someone wants to hold them, they all grin and smile happily, which is very attractive. Hui Qianliu and Nanha received the news as early as when they were about to give birth in Moshang. They just came back from Xingguo recently. At this time, the South Crane learned the appearance of flowers on the street, carefully holding the small boat, like two eyes are about to bubble. Too cute, you see, he saw everyone smile. Let me see. Flower Willow smell speech, also quite interested to come forward to have a look. Zayasizu seems to have made sense. When she saw the flowers and willows, she was more happy with her smile. The meat on her cheeks was piled together, which was very lovely. Hua Qianlu took the folding fan away from his waist, stretched out his hand to the South Crane, and said, "You see, he obviously likes me better. Let me hug you." Nan he took a look at Mo Shanghua. Before Mo Shanghua spoke, Yan Beiqing patted his hand directly. He said coldly, "If you want to hold me, I will give birth to one." Flower Thousand Willow curled his lips, extremely discontented of shout, "I say North City elder brother, how you so stingy, others all hold, why can't hold?" South Crane lifted mouth to stare to spend 1,000 willows one eye, reproach away, "You so unsteady, in case fell child again how?" Hua Qianlu is very unconvinced. He thinks that he can hold a child without looking at it. But he says, "I just want to hold a child. Can I still hold a 7-foot man?" On this matter, Yan Beiqing has a strong say. At the beginning, he began to think of flowers and willows, but later he tried to hold them, but no matter how he held them, Zayasizu would laugh when he saw people, but he was crying bitterly in his arms, and was rejected by many strangers. However, he was determined not to admit it, so he directly dragged Hua Qianlu to one side. "A group of women's affairs, you 7-foot men join in the fun, go quickly." Mo Lingqin and Lin Luzheng looked at each other and followed. It's not good for them to stay here for a long time. South Crane and hold tease for a while, then returned to Mo Shanghua, exclaimed, "You really are good luck, even the children are so lovely." Qinya is very proud to pick eyebrows, as if he is the child's mother in general. "That's natural, our little son with the princess, the body can be worried about it." Xiao Xizhou seemed to understand Qinya's words. He was so excited that he stretched out his little fist and waved it in the air. The meat on his arm trembled. The flower hearts on the street all seemed to melt in general, and the cool eyebrows and eyes softened down because of the child. He says with a smile, "No matter who you are always lovely. I also like it very much." Qinya also laughed and teased, "Anyway, this little boat will grow up in the future, and it must be a small evil that will bring disaster to the country and the people." As he teased, Nan he raised his head and said, "Look what you said, it's like you were born. If not, would you like to have a baby earlier?" Qinya flushed with a smile and stamped her feet angrily, "You're talking nonsense again. You wait, I will tear your mouth." Then he rolled his sleeve and came forward. The South Crane slightly raised the chin, "Pretty light pick, are you sure?" Qinya swallowed her saliva silently. Before she spoke, the flower on the street released a hand and pulled her arm down. She said solemnly, "Those who know current affairs are heroes." Qinya hurriedly Shuanpa Zayalv, hummed and hid toward the flowers on the street. "I don't have the same opinion with you." There is a harmonious and relaxed atmosphere in the hall. The Empress Dowager arrives, the shrill voice of the maid suddenly rings out. Mo Shanghua gives the baby to the nurse for the time being and goes out of the hall to greet Yan Beiqing and others. Today's Empress Dowager is naturally the former lady, Empress Dowager Wan Fujinan. All the people cried out. After Shufei became the Empress Dowager, Yan Xinchuan was extremely filial to her, and naturally led a smooth life. However, she was still an easygoing and dignified person in the past, and did not think highly of herself. All of them are flat. The mourners are here today to celebrate. They don't have to be restrained. The Empress Dowager was smiling, and her attitude towards the people was very peaceful. All of them got up, and the nurse also came to the Empress Dowager with Zayasizu in her arms. Unexpectedly, the Empress Dowager hugged her baby in person. She looked at the white and chubby little boat in her arms and loved it from the bottom of her heart. Her eyes and eyebrows were all smiling. This little guy is really cute, but he has been wronged, and the New Year's feast can't be held wantonly. The flower on the street led her lips to smile and said, "It's enough to have 3 or 5 good friends and all the relatives and neighbors like now. In this imperial city, even if it is a big operation, it invites more than half of the courtiers to come. Even if it is a beautiful city, it has to do everything to be complacent. Isn't it rather tiring and vexing? The rest are not as comfortable as they are." Yan Beiqing obviously had the same idea, but Shufei was also an outsider in front of him. She didn't get close to him, so she didn't interrupt. The Empress Dowager held Zayasizu and teased him for a while. She put a pair of red gold Kirin 100-year-old bracelets on his little wrist. Then she handed the baby back to the nanny and said with a smile, "This is a gift from the AI family. The emperor is busy with government affairs and can't come, so his gift will be sent by the AI family." Then he took a pair of red gold and jade inlaid rui from the female official behind him. The emperor hoped that Zayasizu would have all the best in the future and be safe all the year round. Yan Beiqing took it on behalf of him and bowed his head slightly. "Thank you for your kindness. No need to be polite." The Empress Dowager was just as easygoing to Yan Beiqing. "I don't know when you're going to get up and go to the vassal area for such a small boat. In the past 6 months, other vassals have been going to the vassal area one after another. Yan Xinchuan is gentle and magnanimous. Even King An, who was demoted to be the princess, has been pardoned and allowed to go to the vassal area." Now the only vassal who had not set out for the vassal area was Yan Beiqing and his wife. The Empress Dowager didn't say this out of malice. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing looked at each other and said, "I have already discussed with the Lord. After the Dragon Boat Festival, I will leave for Yuzhou. You don't have to go back to Yuzhou." No one thought that the Empress Dowager would answer like this. Everyone was surprised, but did not think, the Empress Dowager just a meal, after a moment and then said, "King An had a conspiracy, the emperor punished Yuzhou to him, as for you, go to Huayang, the title remains unchanged, still known as King Yu." Huayang. Huayang is located in the south of the Yangtze River. Although it is not as rich as the south of the Yangtze River, it is also a peaceful and rich place, which is many times better than Yuzhou. However, if so, Mo Shanghua Yan Beiqing's previous business in Yuzhou would have to start all over again. Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua looked at each other, then bowed down and said, "Thank you for your kindness." The Empress Dowager went up to help them and told them something about Huayang. She left them all the time on the pretext that everything in the palace was complicated. With the good news brought by the Empress Dowager, everyone was happy for the flowers on the street in Yanbei City, not limited to men and women. They directly set up a big round table, sat down together, drank and laughed. This full moon banquet is not a big event, but for Zayasizu, it is the best to have the blessing of her parents, friends and relatives. Even Mo Shanghua in Yanbei City drank 2 more cups today, all of which were slightly drunk. Yan Beiqing walked a little wobbly. He simply leaned half of his body against Yan Beiqing's arms and walked very hard. Although Yan Beiqing had never drunk in front of Mo Shanghua, his drinking capacity was excellent. At present, his consciousness was clear, his eyes were bright, and he didn't look half drunk. Mo Shanghua staggered against his arms and took 2 steps. He directly picked her up and took her back to the room. "Qinya has drunk too much wine today, so she can't come to serve her." Yan Beiqing combs her and puts her on the bed. The drunken flowers on the street are not as cool as they used to be. Their cheeks are white and red, and their bodies smell of wine. Now they are sleeping sweetly with their eyes closed. Yan Beicheng's playful heart is dead. She can't help raising her hand and gently touching her upper eyelashes, which are just like the flowers on the street. Her long eyelashes quiver and her ruddy lips pout. Light aroma of wine, Yanbei City will be quietly. Jean was pulled up. In this way, she had only one eye. Yan Beicheng pursed his lips, turned his back and slept with the flowers on the street. It's hard to sleep all night. In the middle of the night, when I was sleeping, I was always honest and clever. Suddenly I kicked the quilt and woke up. Yan Beicheng turned around in the middle of the night, and just fell asleep. He was awakened by her movements. He looked at her dimly with green shadows in his eyes. What's the matter? But is it hot? Most of the time in the middle of the night, Mo Shanghua sat upright on the bed, the quilt kicked to the foot. At the moment, she seems to have sobered up, and also seems to be unconscious. Her eyes are staring at the foot of the bed, and she suddenly says, "Where's the boat?" Yan Beicheng sobered up, covered his tired and aching head, and said, "I think the boat is naturally with the nurse." "Good, it's time to go to bed." Say, stretch out one's hand to then take the flower on the Mo into oneself bosom. But Mo Shanghua got up from his arms and lay on the bed. She was flustered and lost her calm. "I just dreamt that the boat was gone." Yan Beicheng endures sleepy, a hand gently rubbed her forehead, low voice way, "I just saw, think boat is very good, who's sweet, also did not cry." As soon as the voice fell, a baby's cry came from far and near. Then, the nurse's voice was full of melancholy, "Princes and concubines, the little prince is crying more than ever, and the maidservant can't coax him well." Mo Shanghua immediately sat up, got up and went to open the door to tell Xiao Xizhou to come. Knowing that she was still sober, Yan Beicheng did not dare to let her hold the baby. He quickly got up with a headache and carried the boat in. Xiaoshizu is still discontented when he is held by Yan Beicheng. He weeps pitifully with his little mouth. His dark eyes are always staring at the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua seems to be awake a lot. She raises her hand and hugs Xiao Xizhou with a soft voice. As soon as Xiao Xizhou arrived in her arms, she wanted to have milk. She drank wine, how could she feed it? Yan Beicheng had no choice but to have a headache and hold Xiaoshizu. Xiaoshizu, who was always clever, cried for half an hour. Finally, he would not sleep until he was held by a stranger. After tossing about for nearly a night, Yanbei City had a full sleep for the first time, and only woke up the next day. Mo Shanghua is already sober. She probably remembers something about yesterday and gets up early to practice and eat. Only when Yan Beicheng wakes up, she brings lunch to make amends. However, she never showed weakness in front of Yan Beicheng. At the moment, she didn't know how to coax him. She just gave him food and said, "Come on, have a meal." Yanbei City now green shadow is particularly thick, now looking at someone so perfunctory attitude, snort, put down the chopsticks. Mo Shanghua looked at him with a puzzled look and frowned, "You haven't eaten since morning. Aren't you hungry?" Yan Beicheng was almost killed by the strange words. He could not help but said, "Of course, I'm hungry. I just have a headache for my husband. I don't have the strength to carry chopsticks." Mo Shanghua turned to ask Qinya for a spoon and put it in the bowl in front of him. "In this case, use the spoon first. Don't worry, you just have too little sleep. After lunch, you can sleep for a while." Yan Beicheng, having such a considerate and skilled woman really makes him have no right to pretend to be ill. Yan Beicheng simply abandoned himself and picked up the spoon with a sad look on his face. As he ate it, he sighed. Mo Shanghua stopped chopsticks and reached for his hand. "If you have any discomfort, I'll help you to have a look." Yan Beicheng immediately covered his chest, his face was full of grievances, "Because my husband was so wronged yesterday, but no one was considerate this morning, and I felt sick. Only then did I lose my appetite and feel powerless." Mo Shang spent a second seriously feeling for Yan Beicheng. After hearing what he said, he finally understood how it was the same thing, and his lips could not help twitching. It turns out that he dislikes her as a wife. Mo Shanghua looked down and thought for a moment, then picked up the chopsticks beside Yan Beiqing and personally brought the food to his lips. Have a taste? Yan Beiqing was so satisfied that he opened his mouth and ate the vegetables without looking. Then he pointed to another meal on the table. Mo Shanghua put down his chopsticks and stood up. We're going to Huayang in a few days. The Princess of Nan left for Yuzhou 3 days ago. There are still many things to take care of. You can use them yourself. We'll discuss them together when we have a good meal. After all, she has lived in Yuzhou for half a year, and many shops and some capable people are there. She must deal with it as soon as possible. When she thought of it, she felt very busy today. She could not even take care of Zayasizu. Yan Beiqing immediately wanted to cry without tears, but he didn't care what he had just said. He quickly put a few mouthfuls in his mouth, and then he went out to deal with it with Mo Shanghua. Make a little trouble for a while, and you can't leave half of the business to be dealt with, let alone let the stranger take care of it. Yuzhou is located in a remote area. It is not easy to withdraw all the things there and move them to Huayang, which is located in the south of the imperial city. After a long discussion with Mo Shanghua in Yanbei City, most of the things in Yuzhou remained unchanged, and only temporarily transferred some important deployment to a more secret place, and some of the effective personnel were also transferred back to Huayang to settle down first. In this way, when they went to Huayang in the future, they could also save a lot of trouble. To go to a new fiefdom, there must always be a palace regulated by vassals ready in advance. Fortunately, Huayang had vassals in charge many years ago, but there was a palace with perfect regulations. Yanbei City ordered people to repair it in advance. At that time, it was about 3 months before the Dragon Boat Festival. When everything was ready, they could go directly. As a new emperor, Yan Xinchuan was very generous. He specially sewed a lot of money for them to repair the Huayang Palace and spend all the time on the road. Mo Jiang is now a capable general of Yan Beiqing. However, the fact that he is the adopted son of Prince Lian has been revealed, and he is in charge of the imperial army. Naturally, he can't live without the imperial city for the time being. Yan Beiqing simply asked Qin Lin to come over and took him to experience day by day. He was very strict in his means. He even taught Qin Lin how to read and write all the time and intended to cultivate him. But since then, he has been very busy every day and has no time to go out. The advantage of doing so is to let Mo Ling and Qinya relax. Yan Beiqing looked at it and pretended not to know. After telling Qin Lin what to train every day, he went back to the mansion to accompany Mo Shanghua and Xiao Xizhou, and helped Mo Ling. Although Zayasizu is obedient, he is a child. He will cry after a long time away from Huan Beiqing. Every day, except when dealing with important matters, I can't take it with me. Other times, I try my best to take Zayasizu with me. Yan Beiqing often comes back to accompany me. Time flies, 3 years pass in a hurry. Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua arrived in Huayang 2.5 years ago. Now 3 years later, everything in Huayang has been stable. After 3 years of Baorong Emperor's funeral, Qinya and Mo Ling got married quickly. However, they still insist on serving Yan Beiqing, who is a stranger. Neither of them wants to leave. Mo Shanghua has no choice but to return Qinya's contract to her, recognize her as a righteous sister, and give her a decent identity to marry Mo Ling. As for Mo Ling, he was the most effective dark guard in Yanbei City, and Yanbei City didn't want to see him detained all the time. When he arrived in Huayang, he sent him to the military camp. Although Mo Ling spoke little, like a log, he stayed with Yan Beiqing for many years. Under the influence of his eyes, his tactics and martial arts were much better than those of Qin Lin, a halfway monk. On the contrary, he soon made war achievements and was canonized as a general. Qinya also worked hard and became a general's wife. Qin Lin is a little bit dull. He has been learning for so many years. However, he has such talent and is not outstanding. He has always been a deputy general. As for Joaquin Liuna, he has covered almost every corner of the whole mainland in the past 3 years. Now he has settled down in Huayang for the time being, and is preparing for the wedding recently. Today's Zayasizu is 2.5 years old, often holding the arm of Mo Shanghua and yelling, "Mother, hold." With the growth of age, Zayasizu's delicate face has gradually opened up, a pair of round eyes like obsidian, dark and shiny, small nose, small mouth, small face is thinner than that of the full moon Su, you can see the sharp outline of the mandible, very delicate and lovely. Xiao Xizhou was quite precocious. Today, I don't know why. He dragged the baby's fat cheeks and frowned. I don't know what he was thinking. Mo Shanghua happened to come out of the house and saw Xiao Xizhou. He couldn't help but smile. He didn't hurry to ask him to get up and sat down on the steps beside him with him. Why, Zayasizu has something on his mind now. Mo Shanghua smiles and asks curiously. Small think boat this just startled to feel the flower on the road to come, go just shrivel of shout mother. Obviously is a boy, but this soft glutinous children's voice, but directly on the flower's heart softened. She will sit next to Zayasizu and touch his hairy head with one hand. The hair of a child is no more soft than that of an adult. Zayasizu, what are you thinking? Xiao Xizhou had been used to his mother's abuse for a long time. He didn't brush it off and said in distress, Mother, I always dream these days. People will dream. Your parents often dream, and your nanny will dream. For 3 years, she has already formed a way to get along with Zayasizu. As long as she is facing Zayasizu, she is very patient and gentle. But I dreamed about my sister. Zayasizu frowned bitterly and looked up at the flowers on the street, but mother, I don't have a sister. I don't know why there will be a sister in my dream. For 3-year-old Xiao Xizhou, such a thing still falls into the category of incomprehension. But I don't know why, Mo Shanghua had a strange feeling in her heart. She pondered for a moment and asked softly, what sister? Is Xizhou willing to talk to his mother? Zayasizu looked up at a delicate little face that was not big enough to palm. He looked at the flowers on the street seriously and said, it looks very similar to his mother. It's very good looking. After a pause, his small nose wrinkled, and his eyes showed some grievances, but my sister didn't talk to me, and she couldn't hear me when I called her. When I woke up, there was no more. Mo Shanghua wanted to say something, but I don't know why. As soon as she thought about it, she felt a headache. In front of her, Xiao Xizhou was waiting for her answer. She didn't think much and said, silly boy, you have no elder sister. It's just a dream. What elder sister is not elder sister, but my son is talking nonsense again. Just then, the voice of Qinya, who had become the general's wife, came. Mo Shanghua took Xiao Xizhou's chubby little hand and stood up. The North City is not for Mo Ling to rest for half a month. Your newlyweds will come back from time to time. Don't you want to hang up your little husband? It has been 3 years. Qinya's pretty face is still as thin-skinned as before. She can't help but blush. If you still miss your concubine, you're really hanging out. You're the biggest culprit. At the moment, Zayasizu put aside his worries and grinned at Qinya with a small grin. Qinya's pretty face was a little black. She squatted down and gently held the tender little face of Xiao Xizhou. They all said to call sister, not aunt. Zayasizu was very young, but he didn't dodge. Since his back was straight, he opened his mouth seriously. My father said that you can't bend your majesty, but you can't move your poverty. Aunt Ye is a teenager older than me. It's against the rules to call my sister. The front words are indeed from Yenbei sect, but the back words are. Qinya has a pretty black face and bites her teeth angrily, it must be from Nanha sect. Nan He and Qinya have been, not dealing with each other, for a long time. They always have to fight each other several times when they meet. When Nan He came back to Huayang half a year ago, he often came to the palace. If he hadn't been busy with his marriage recently, he would have come here a long time ago. Because of the marriage, Qinya and Nan He often come to the palace at the wrong time. Naturally, they haven't met each other, which makes Nan-hee have an opportunity. He was watching the fun in the street, but when he looked at such a precocious son, he could not help frowning. At such a young age, he would be like his father. What should he do in the future? Zaisuzu is just a little girl now. She is young and mature. She doesn't look as cheerful as a child of this age. It makes her head ache. Chinya nodded with approval, then shook her head again and said, "It's clear that the South Crane's teaching has damaged Zaisuzu. Aunt Nanha didn't have it. I didn't expect that Xiao Sizhou was very dissatisfied with the correction. I heard the same word, aunt, from the mouth of Suzuku." When Qin Yaten was smiling, he was overjoyed. "Yes, your Aunt Nanha teaches well. We should learn more from her in the future." Zaisuzu stares at Chinya, and his nose is wrinkled again. He turns his head in doubt. "Mother, Aunt Chinya wishes Aunt Nanha in her dream. Why do you like this?" Mo Shanghua squats down and caresses his hairy head. He just wants to explain, but his eyes suddenly coagulate. "What do you say in the dream?" Zaisuzu looked at the flowers in the street strangely, with a baby's fat face on his head, and said seriously, "It's Aunt Chinya's dream." This next Mo Shanghua, is Chinya also shocked stare big eyes, a face can't believe looking at small think boat, "How do you know I dreamt of South Crane married yesterday?" Mo Shanghua's face became more and more dignified. She put her hands on Si Zhou's small shoulder and said, "Si Zhou, tell my mother, how can you know what happened in Aunt Chinya's dream?" I didn't expect that Zaisuzu had a natural look on her face, and she didn't understand the behavior of flowers on the street. "I can see it." After a pause, his dark eyes fixed on the beautiful face of the stranger and said, "But I can't see my mother. She's a liar. You just said you would dream, but there's nothing." The frown on the street is twisted again. She doesn't understand the current situation of Zaisuzu. She had several dreams yesterday. Why can't Zaisuzu see through Chinya? Chinya's mouth can't be closed. Zaisuzu was deeply confused about this, and her face was almost twisted. Mo Shanghua thinks about it again and again, and finally decides to suppress it for the time being. He wanted to mention it to Yan Beicheng, but after thinking about it, he decides to observe first. Zaisuzu is already 3 years old. Yan Beicheng has taken him out to sleep by himself this year, but Mo Shanghua still takes Zaisuzu over that night and is ready to quietly observe if his son is different at night. It happened that the Mid-Autumn Festival was approaching at that time, and Yanbei City had many affairs. He came back quite late these days, and Zaisuzu always went to bed early. Therefore, today, he was accompanied only by flowers on the street. "With my mother beside me, I can sleep faster and more peacefully." Mo Shanghua has been guarding not to sleep, to the afternoon has been some cannot endure, holding a small boat, eyes have been uncontrollable squint up. At this time, the little man in his arms suddenly became hot, like a small stove, very hot. Just had Sleepy on the street flowers suddenly wake up, immediately raised his hand to explore his son's forehead, start really is the same hot. But after the flower had passed the pulse again, the pulse was the slightest strange, even on the face did not rise, the slightest blush caused by fever. Mo Shanghua quickly gets up and lights the candlestick, gently shakes the boat, and says in a soft voice, "Boat, boat," with a more anxious voice, she is completely flustered. As like as 2 peas in the past 3 years ago, Shaoxi boat has been back to the witch nationality. No one can save them at the moment. Thinking of Yan Beicheng's coma in those days, Mo Shanghua's hands trembled and he simply hugged Shaoxi Zhou. Did not think, small think boat unexpectedly what strange also have no, just blinked, and then opened his eyes, a blank face looking at the flowers, the temperature on the body in an instant fade down. Just, he sleepy eyes hazy open eyes, actually looking at the flower Noa Noa mouth, "Sister, you found me." In a twinkling, the flowers on the street have a splitting headache. As if there was an iron cone trying to open her brain, the fragmentary memory slowly poured into her brain along the crack, which made her brain ache. She tried to control herself and put Zaisuzu back on the bed smoothly, while she suddenly fell to the ground, her hands tightly covering her head, full of pain. Headache, then at any time to pain hundreds of times, than the time of childbirth more painful grinding people. Under such circumstances, her hands and feet were almost uncontrollable, and one of them overturned the candlestick and fell on the bed. The soft bedding was ignited in an instant and burned slowly along a corner. Zayasu almost instantly reacted and jumped down from the bed. He looked at the bed that had been lit, and at the flowers that were lying on the ground in agony. The little man made a choice in his mind. He climbed to the table and poured tea on the bed with teapot in his hands. Even if the fire was extinguished in an instant, there was no trace. Then he walked to Mo Shenghua with short legs and said, "Mother, what's the matter with you, mother?" Mo Shenghua suddenly got up from the ground with great effort and stumbled to a corner of the middle room. He rummaged around and took out a wooden box. Regardless of the thick dust on the wooden box, she held it directly and opened it slowly with shaking hands. As soon as the wooden box opened, a sharp white light suddenly lit up, illuminating the whole holiday. Zayasu covered his eyes and sat on the ground as if he had been pushed by some force. And Mo Shenghua, in the eye light touched the white light of the moment, the eye cluster ran across a very bright light, and then the body soft, fell on the ground. His head seemed to stop suddenly, his mind gradually floated and fell into a dark place. In the dark, I can't see my head at a glance. The flower on the street only feels that her whole body is light, as if her soul is out of the body, floating and sinking in the air. One scene after another, she was familiar with the pictures in her bones. She walked slowly through her mind one by one, from the remote mainland of China to a place engulfed by darkness, and then to the modern world of tall buildings. In the picture, it seems that there is such a lovely baby like Zayasu at the beginning. Nua Nua calls her mother, but people call her wife and the baby lady. And the man's face, which was floating and sinking in the dark and had never been seen clearly, suddenly became clear as if he had pushed aside the clouds. From the outline as like as two peas, and the eyes of the five organs, there is no place like gold carving and jade carving, and familiar with the familiar. Once upon a time, the dream that had been gradually blurred, now the car showed in front of her. In memory, her soul is almost broken, floating in a desolate and dark place for 100 years. When it is about to disappear, it is the man who took her into the reincarnation path. However, as a demon god, he had already had a contract with the gods. Now, for her, he did not like to destroy the contract, which naturally led to the discontent of the gods and came to attack one after another. From the beginning to the end, she had never seen the earth-shaking World War I, she was protected by him safely, and had not been affected at all. However, when he finally sent her into reincarnation, her breath was not as strong as it was at the beginning. Even before the doctor could express his thanks, she fell into reincarnation completely with a lightning strike. Hazy, she seems to see him fall down with the body, but at that time, her memory has already gradually dissipated, everything with the beginning of falling into reincarnation, forget all. Even the most persistent name in my heart also disappeared. Since then, Mo Shenghua has been in a coma. Yen North City how also can't think of oneself but that day return of a little bit late some, then produced such affair. Father and son drove everyone out, only they guarded the unconscious flowers on the street. Now, it's the 10th day. Zayasu is stubborn and tight. He feels that he has hurt the flowers in the street. He is sleepy and must be here. He is in Zhaohui. At the moment, his round eyes are red and swollen, and he has been struggling for several hours. He can't bear to lie down beside his bed and sleep. Yen Beicheng's eyes are also full of blood. He holds Zayasu to the side of Xiaotan for a while, and then he sits back again. He holds the hand of Mo Shenghua tightly in his hand, and looks at the peaceful sleeping face of Mo Shenghua with complicated eyes. Mo Shenghua was not hurt and fainted. She just woke up suddenly from the memory of the past. Now this mortal body can't bear it, so she can't wake up. Now she should have remembered almost everything. Yen Beicheng gently held the hand of the flower on the street, and sighed, the one who should come is always unavoidable. Now that I have awakened, I will not seal your memory in the future. Now that I think about the boat, I am older. When you wake up, I will go with you to find your daughter. In fact, the memory of Mo Shanghua in those years has been awakened under the influence of Ning Tongji. It's only one step away from being fully awakened. But now that Mo Shanghua is a mortal child with a small boat, she can't go to find the whereabouts of Yunwu. Therefore, he had to use all his newly awakened strength to seal the memory of flowers on the street. Cloud dance. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The lips of Mo Shanghua on the bed were slightly open, and they began to talk uncontrollably. Yen North City as usual clenched the hand of Mo Shanghua, but did not expect, her long eyelashes and light tremble twice, slowly opened her eyes. A beautiful but familiar face fell into the eye, and the dazed color of the flowers in the street faded away, but he didn't get up. If in the past, the first thing she did was to stand up first. But now, she just stares at the enlarged handsome face in front of her eyes, and her mood is complex and hard to say, changing constantly. For a long time, the light of water gathered in her eyes, and suddenly tears came down. Yen Beiqing quickly wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes, as if trying to say something, but finally went, she still pursed her lips without saying anything. Mo Shanghua didn't refuse Yen Beiqing's intimacy. She has been used to Yen Beiqing's intimacy for many years in the kingdom of God, but now looking at this face, her mood is no longer the same as usual. She refused to speak. As usual, Yen Beiqing got up, poured a glass of water and said in a low voice, I know you must have a lot to say now. You've been sleeping for 10 days. You'd better drink some water first. Hua Tongren on the street just turned around, and was supported by Yen Beiqing. He sat up and took the teacup, but he only held it in his hand and did not drink it. His eyes did not leave Yen Beiqing for a moment. Demon God Mo Shanghua finally opened his mouth, his voice was hoarse and hard to hear, but his eyes were as bright as lead, and his eyes were full of affirmation. As early as 3 years ago, you had awakened. Yen Beiqing was silent for a moment and didn't admit it for a long time. He was awakened at that time, but the demon god has long been a thing in the past, and now he is awakened. He just wants to stay with Mo Shanghua for a long time, that is, to be a pair of the most ordinary mortals, which is hundreds of times better than keeping the endless loneliness of those 9 days. He didn't want to break that. Yen North City does not speak, Mo Shanghua then stares at him, opens mouth again, why do you want to reincarnate with me? Putting her into modern times is to warm her soul, and it is inevitable for her to turn into a mortal, which she can accept. But she did not understand why the devil came to the lower world with her. Yen Beiqing's thin lips were tightly pressed into a straight line. After a long time, he pulled the corners of his lips and said, I have violated the contract with the Protoss. The Protoss are very difficult to deal with. Naturally, I'm here to stay quiet. Then he pretended to smile easily and said, those old guys have some magic power. What's the point of being immortal here? At least it's more interesting than being in the heaven. Don't you think? He fell on the side of the hand, unconsciously tightened a few minutes, eyes tightly staring at the face of the flower expression, the slightest would not let go. Yes, he's afraid. He's afraid that the flowers on the street will come back. Because he thinks of the past, he doesn't love him anymore. Everything in the kingdom of God had already made him love Mo Shanghua to the core. Even if he had recovered his status as a demon god, he would not let go of her hand. Mo Shanghua is also quietly staring at Yen Beiqing in front of her. She sips her lips and thinks for a long time. Then she pulls the corners of her lips and smiles, this world is very interesting. But as soon as she thought of the cloud dance, which has not been seen yet, the obsession in her heart, which has not been forgotten for 100 years, became clear and thorough again, but I didn't forget that I have to go to find the cloud dance. As long as it was confirmed that her mind had not changed, Yen Beiqing's heart would settle down. He took her hand and his voice was low and hoarse. I promised that I would find your daughter, and I would find her. This will be forever. Mo Shanghua wants to smile at him, trying to hook his lips, but he can't smile at all. His nose is sour. The reason why you become like this, you become Yen Beiqing, is because of me, right? The devil is only one person, but also to protect only a soul of her, but also because of the sky and resist countless thunder, is it so easy to get away? Mo Shanghua in this life, though remembering the memory of the past, is still Mo Shanghua. She still loves Yan Beiqing to her heart. In her way of thinking, Yan Beiqing is still the main one, and Yunwu is the only one who will not be selfish. Yan Beiqing pulled her into his arms, wrapped her in front of his chest with his firm and powerful shoulder, and his face returned to his usual indulgent smile. Those are things thousands of years ago, which are not worth mentioning. Now, I'm lucky to be with you. Mo Shanghua's journey from modern times to here is only a memory of 2 generations, but in the 3,000 worlds, Yan Beiqing has been reincarnated hundreds of times at various time points in various worlds, so that she can know each other and stay with her in this life. A word suddenly appeared in the flower's mind. How can the years be quiet? It's just that someone is carrying a heavy load for you. Yan Beiqing is the one who is carrying a heavy load for him. Yanbei City shuttles this 100 times, except to avoid the entanglement of the Protoss. I'm afraid more is to find her daughter. Think of here, Mo Shanghua's heart completely softened down, eyes gradually accumulated tears, together with the gratitude of previous life, burst out together. Tears fell silently, across his face and on Yan Beiqing's mind. If he had penetrating power, it almost burned Yan Beiqing's heart. Mother, you are awake. Why are you crying again, mother? Not far away from Xiaotan, Zayasizu did not know when to wake up. Looking at the flower in front of him who was crying silently, he opened his mouth wisely, and his eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that he was going to shed tears at any time. Mo Shanghua pushes Yan Beiqing away and holds Xiao Xizhou in her arms. The figure of Cloud Dance appears in her mind again. She temporarily suppresses the idea in her heart and says in a soft voice, "My mother is okay, just moved." Zayasizu is held in his arms by the flowers of the stranger. His mouth is turned away. He wants to shed tears very much, but he is afraid to open his mouth because he is afraid that he will cry when he opens his mouth. His face turns red. When he was just at the age of enlightenment, he kept in mind what Yan Beiqing had taught him and always reminded himself to abide by it. The sadness in the flower's heart seems to be diluted by the lovely child in front of him. He quickly raises his hand to wipe his tears and smiles gently. I think about the boat. If a man has tears, he doesn't flick them lightly, but he doesn't feel sad, so it's okay to cry once in a while. Zayasizu couldn't help but cry. She was a 3-year-old. He sobbed and sobbed, "Mother, it's with me, burp, sleeping with me. It's just like this." However, the little man had such a sensitive nature of self-reproach. Yan Beiqing found a handkerchief of flowers on the street to help Xiao Xizhou wipe the tears on his face. He said with a straight face, "Well, you are now 3 years old. You can't cry like a 2-year-old child. It makes your mother worry. Other people's 3-year-old children can't even speak well." Mo Shanghua's secret way in her heart turns her eyes to Yan Beiqing. What cannot be the same as a 2-year-old child? She is really angry and funny. But he didn't think that such words were particularly effective for Xiao Xizhou. He immediately stopped crying, wiped his own tears while struggling to jump down from the arms of flowers on the street. "I'm all right. Don't hold me at will in the future. I'm 3 years old. You can't spoil me like this." Xiao Xizhou didn't know where to learn it, but he was very stubborn with tears in his eyes. Mo Shanghua turns her eyes to Yan Beiqing again. After thinking about it, she squats down and touches Xiao Xizhou's head. She whispers, "Xizhou, my mother knows that you didn't mean to do it that day. Can you tell my mother if you dream about something that day and see my sister again?" Zayasizu frowned and thought about it seriously, then shook his head, "I can't remember. While talking, I couldn't help but cover my mouth and yawn quietly." Mo Shanghua didn't have the heart to ask. She took him back to the room to sleep. Then she went back to the inner room. Is Xizhou different from ordinary people? Mo Shanghua twists her eyebrows and looks up at Yan Beiqing. She can see through other people's dreams. When she sleeps, she gets hot all over, but there is no difference on her body. Maybe she couldn't think of such a magical thing before, but now she thinks of it all, and she has a feeling in her heart. Mo Shanghua Mingming never mentioned Xiao Xizhou to him, but Yan Beiqing seemed to have expected something strange, and his voice was calm. My memory and strength are awakening. This child may have inherited my strength, so it's like this. The spiritual power in this world is rare, but this child is born with spiritual root. Now, when he is old, even if he has little spiritual power, he will still quietly pour into his body. I have never taught him how to use cultivation. The spiritual power just warms his body and does not cause any influence. Yan Beiqing's memory was awakened early. In fact, he had already realized that it was only because Mo Shanghua had not awakened that he had never made it clear. Now that Mo Shanghua was known, he said without reservation, as for seeing through other people's dreams, this is probably the most unique thing for him, and I don't have the ability to do so. Maybe it's his chance. It's not a bad thing. You don't have to worry about it. In the heart of Mo Shanghua, I just let go. I don't know what I think of. My eyes are gradually far away. What do you mean by the name you gave him? She had a hunch in her heart, but she couldn't help but want to confirm. Yan Beiqing had known her careful thinking, but he patiently explained, I know you miss Yunwu, and she is your only concern in mainland China. Therefore, I named him Xizhou. As for why not just call it Si Wu, if he grows up to be a 7-foot man in the future, will he have to be held on his shoulder all the time and yelled at each other? No, Mo Shanghua was moved in his heart, his red lips pulled out a light radiant, his smile was gentle and firm. I know what you are worried about, you can rest assured that I have determined you in this life, no matter how, I will not let go of your hand. Said, took the initiative to put his hand into the hands of Yan Beiqing. Close fingers, 2 hearts, just like at this moment. Yan Beiqing's heart suddenly became hot. He held the hand of Mo Shanghua tightly. His eyes were eager and affectionate. I'll accompany you to find your daughter and realize your obsession. After a pause, his eyes suddenly darkened, but before I came here, Yunwu was no longer in the mainland of China. Now, although my strength has been slowly awakening, it's still very little. Maybe I can't find her all my life. The flowers on the street are silent, the red lips are slightly pursed, and the eyes are dark. That is her daughter who is not willing to give up until her soul dissipates. How can she be reconciled? However, all the experiences of these 2 lives have changed her mood. She is no longer the witch saint in the past. She is just a stranger now. Now that she has more things to care about, she can't selfishly regard Yunwu as the whole of her life. What's more, Yan Beiqing can't be so selfish to accompany her to find a daughter who has no blood relationship with him, a persistence that may not be found in the whole life of exhausting this mortal body. Yanbei City, I. She couldn't help looking up at the man in front of her, who had already rolled to her throat, but she couldn't spit it out anyway. Wait a minute. Yan Beiqing seems to suddenly think of something, turned to the corner of the room and took the dusty box. The flower on the street fixed her eyes, and Xiumei began to frown. Is this what Ning Tongji left behind? I remember that I couldn't open it in any way in the past. As soon as I open it today, I will remember all the past events. After a pause, her eyes suddenly coagulated and took the box over. The box seems to have lost all the spiritual power. Now when it is opened again, it is the same as the ordinary box, and there is no more spiritual power. In the middle of the box, there is a rolled-up paper lying quietly. Mo Shanghua pondered for a while, took out the paper and unfolded it slowly. It seems that the paper is not vulgar. It has been dusty in this box for so long, but it is still as clean as new. The contents are as outlined just now. Every stroke is very clear, and it doesn't have the appearance of being invaded by half a minute. This is the way to the witch fairies. Yan Beiqing and Mo Shanghua watched together. After carefully watching, he became a deep voice. Mo Shanghua also carefully looked at it, but his brows slightly frowned. It's Ning Tongji. He's suggesting to you and me that we need to go to the witch fairy family. Yan Beiqing nodded slightly, and Feng's eyes narrowed slightly. There was a sense of vigilance in his eyes. This man is acting strangely. From beginning to end, he is like an outsider, and he interferes in our affairs from time to time. It must not be simple. Mo Shanghua folded up the palm paper and put it away. Her face was quiet and determined. Anyway, we'll have to find out what happened. Good. Yen North City naturally won't refuse, low voice should weigh. The marriage between Nanha and Hui Qianliu is approaching, so the coma of Mo Shanghua has been concealed without telling anyone. Qinya, who is coming back every few days, is also temporarily dismissed by Yen Beicheng. As a result, no one was alarmed. Mo Shanghua and Yen Beicheng have already had an idea in their mind, but after all, they have been waiting for 100 years. They are not bad at all. They plan to go after the wedding of Hua Qianlu and Nanha. But no one expected that everything would be ready in Hui Qianliu, and the wedding was almost made with half a fortune. At this time, because of one thing, it had to be interrupted. Yen Sinchuan, who has been sitting on the dragon chair for 2 years, suddenly died. Yen Sinchuan's bad health is well known. However, in the past 3 years, few people have heard of his illness. Everyone thinks that his illness has gradually improved. No one thought that at this time, the news of his death suddenly came from the palace. The Empress Dowager was devastated, but she had to support Yen Sinchuan's brother, Lin Wang, who was the 6th prince when Baorong Emperor was still alive. Not only Hui Qianliu and Nanha, but also Mo Shanghua and Yan Beicheng were unprepared by the news. In this way, all their plans will be disrupted, and the most important thing now is to go back to the imperial city. All the carriages were ready for the ceremony, but the Empress Dowager's edict came again. The emperor's life was poor, and he left the edict before his death. He was ashamed that he had been in power for 3 years. He did not make much contribution to the country. He was ashamed of his father and the emperor. He did not want to organize the funeral ceremony. All the kings were brothers. He should not rush for him, and did not allow the kings to return to Beijing. There is a certain purpose to this purpose. After 3 years of management, the vassals now have a certain strength in their respective fiefs. No one knows whether their cowardly temperament will change. Although Yen Sinchuan accepted his concubines in these 3 years, he had no children. He just passed the throne to the king in a hurry. If he rashly allowed the vassals to return to Beijing, he might lead to chaos. Let's not mention that. It has been more than 20 days since Mo Shanghua and Yen Beicheng received the Empress Dowager's successive Yiji. Both of them originally set out to return to the imperial city, but when they received such Yiji, they had mixed feelings. Especially on the flowers, her heart always feel Yen Sinchuan's death is too sudden, whether there is anything strange. Or is it that the emperor's life is so hard that his body can't bear the burden? Before her suspicions could be carried out, the girl's report brought her back to reality. Tell the prince and the princess that there is a young man outside the mansion who asked to see you. The man said that he was an old friend of you and the princess. Old friends? Mo Shanghua and Yen Beicheng look at each other. They all have some doubts in their hearts. They give orders to let the maidservant take them down. Before that person came, they had been wondering which old friend they were. After all, most of their friends now settled down in Huayang. If they were familiar with it, how could they report it like this? It was not until the young master, dressed in a plain white robe and as graceful as jade, stood in front of them that they were shocked. At the moment, the man standing in front of them, smiling like jade, is not Hu Yen Sinchuan, who has been ordered by the Empress Dowager to tell the world that he has died. After a shock, Yen Beicheng immediately held back the crowd. After only 3 of them were left in the hall, he said, "Why cheat death?" 3 years of life as an emperor did not seem to have changed Yen Sinchuan's mind. As usual, he said with a warm smile, "Life in the imperial palace is too tired. In the past 3 years, I have been secretly supporting 6th emperor brother. Now he has improved, and I can't wait to get out of the palace." Mo Shanghua was a little confused in her heart. She looked down and thought for a while and said, "Can I feel your pulse?" Yan Xinchuan's gentle eyes flashed slightly, and his hand shrank under the wide-sleeve robe. He said, "I'm much better now. You don't have to worry. This time, I've come to say goodbye to you." He, who had always been gentle, saw the flower on the street, but he didn't give her a chance to speak. He continued with a smile, "In my life, except for Yuzhou, I have never been out of the imperial city. Now I have experienced a lot along the way, and now I have some ideas. Speaking of this, I don't know why the smile of the corner of my lips is a bit bitter. I still have such a long time for the rest of my life. I want to have a look around. At least I have to walk all over the kingdom of God to make this life worthwhile." 3 years has not lost his yearning for her in his heart. Therefore, he wants to travel all over the mountains and rivers to find her shadow. He knew that she had been gone for a long time, but he had no other wish in this life. After searching for the rest of his life, he might have a chance to see her who had been reincarnated. Even if she can't see all these mountains and rivers for her, it's worth living. Seems to see Yan Xinchuan deeply buried in the bottom of the eyes of sadness. Mo Shanghua is silent, not in the questioning. In fact, Yan Beiqing had a clear idea of their origin, but he didn't tear it down. He laughed and joked, "You used to have no worries about food and clothing, but now you are in the secular world. You can see that the secular world needs money everywhere. If you lack money in the future, you can come to the Yuangfu at any time." Mo Shanghua also put aside his worries and gave him a smile. "Since this is your choice, we will never interfere. As Beiqing said, if you need a place in the future, just come to the house of King Yu." 3 years later, the years have not left any mark on the face of the flowers on the street. The only thing that has become more peaceful is that it is not as cold as it used to be. Therefore, it is different from Yan Xinchuan's face in memory. Yan Xinchuan's heart has been stemming from the knot, seems to be at this moment relieved. He just pulled the lip, smile of gentle close, "Brother and sister-in-law, miss, intermediary, I will not be polite." He called for his brother and sister-in-law so many times, only today's brother and sister-in-law is a blessing from the bottom of his heart. Yan Beiqing stood up and said, "You just came to Huayang. You must stay for a few days before you leave. I'll send someone to prepare the guest room for you." Now Yanbei City has become more humane than before. The flower on the street was very happy with her lips and smile, and stood up with him to make a fuss. "We have to hold a banquet to invite each other in the evening, but..." With a quick turn of words, she joked, "Now the emperor's death is less than a month, but we can't have a banquet." Smell speech, Yan Xinchuan also can't help but smile, quite self-mockery of hook-up lips. "In that case, that matter, or allow after discuss, allow after discuss." Mo Shanghua and Yan Beiqing looked at each other and laughed. After a joke, Yan Xinchuan got up and said, "Someone will pay attention to you now. If I stay for a long time, it will only bring you trouble. Today I just come to visit you. I will leave here and go to Jiangnan in a moment." "Leaving so soon?" Mo Shanghua looked at the sky outside the window, quite surprised. Yan Beiqing also came forward with a master's manner and said, "It's been 3 years since we parted, 13. If you don't think about it, you don't have to say that I'm absolutely safe here. In 3 years, there were no villains who made trouble in secret. The whole Huayang city was managed by Mo Shanghua of Yanbei City. He was like Taitong, and other people couldn't get in at all." However, Yan Xinchuan's attitude was very firm. He smoothed the wrinkles on his clothes and said, "The carriage has been waiting outside. It can't be delayed." Yan North City and Mo Shanghua look at each other. They are not forced, personally sent Yan Xinchuan out. As for Lu Zheng, who has been helping Yan Xinchuan to cure, I heard that he traveled all over the world a year ago with his medical skills. Now they all have their own ends, but Hua Qianlu is the only one. He has been looking forward to it for 3 years, and has been preparing for it for more than half a year. With the marriage approaching, he has entered the period of the emperor's death. All the things he has prepared have to be withdrawn, and the wedding has been cancelled. Flower Thousand Willows worry almost Whitehead, day and night to find Yanbei City to find a way. Yan Beicheng was really helpless, so he made an idea to let them go to a foreign country. It was just a casual remark. Unexpectedly, Hua Qianlu patted her thigh and decided the matter. With half of her wealth, she and Nan He are going to hold a wedding again in a foreign country. Naturally, this preparation will take more than half a year. Therefore, during this period of time, Yan Beicheng and Mo Shanghua quietly left Huayang with a small boat. In any case, they all want to go to the witch fairy family to have a look, at least to find out what the purpose is. Maybe, it's not necessary to find the trace of cloud dance there. Everyone says that the Wuxian clan is in the far north of the mainland. The Kingdom of God, just to the southeast of the mainland, is also separated by the Star Country and the Moon Country. But all the people in the world would not expect that the witch fairy clan was in the far north, but the only one who could get to the far north was in a former vassal mausoleum outside Yuzhou City. The vassal mausoleum has gone through 100 years of wind and frost, and the former dynasty vassal mausoleum, which has been destroyed for 100 years, has long been left unattended and has become dilapidated. Even the entrance of the mausoleum has been buried in sand. It is such a ruined and terrible place, which is shown as the entrance to the sorcerer clan on the map given by Ning Tongji. This place is located in the most remote and poor wilderness of Yuzhou. No one can be seen on weekdays. Therefore, there is no need for Yan Beicheng to hide anything at the moment. With a wave of his sleeve, the entrance of the mausoleum buried in sand is exposed. Now that she has recovered her memory, Mo Shanghua has begun to practice her spiritual power again. Is it just that the spiritual power of the Kingdom of God is very weak? She has a lot of effort in practice, but she has never seen Yan Beicheng practice. Has she reached this point? Xiao Xizhou was not clear about his ability, and he had never seen Yan Beicheng show up in front of him like this. He suddenly stared round his eyes and blinked again and again in disbelief. After a long time, he pulled the sleeves of the flowers on the street and said, "Mom, Dad knows how to do magic. My mother didn't coax me." It turned out that there was really magic. Although the couple didn't tell him his skills, they began to tell him about cultivation. Unfortunately, Xiao Xizhou had his own insight and thought that he was being coaxed by flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua touched the top of his hairy hair and sighed with a smile, "Mother didn't know your father was so powerful." Zayasizu now opened the new world, even in front of the mausoleum did not see fear, learning the appearance of Yanbei city outside, straightened his waist, and said, "Mother, I will be as powerful as Dad in the future, to protect you and Dad." "When does Daddy need your protection?" Yan Beicheng is quite dissatisfied and brings the little guy over. He says solemnly, "Your mother is protected by your father. You just want to protect others in the future." Zayasizu seriously thought about Yan Beicheng's words, but retorted, "Why should I protect others? Since my father doesn't need my protection, I will protect my mother as well as my father." Yan Beicheng frowned more discontentedly and said childishly, "No, mother can only protect her father." Zayasizu was extremely confused and twisted his brows. He was only 3 years old. He really couldn't understand what Yan Beicheng's words meant. The flower on the street is funny and angry. She pulls Zayasizu to her side and explains in a low voice, "Dad means that your mother has been protected by Dad. You will meet a good girl in the future. That's what you need to protect." Zayasizu nodded, not asking. But his heart is still tangled, why must protect others? However, he had a thorough mind and knew that he was also bothering his parents, so he simply went to tangle with himself. Mo Shanghua and Yan Beicheng didn't know what was in Xizhou's little head. Now they had all focused on the entrance of the mausoleum.